guys, welcome back to Angel Angela. I am so happy, so glad that you guys have found my channel and that I am able to help you guys through your healing and help you guys understand that it is a process into this healing, into this recovery, because you go over and over and over the same thing in your mind, and sometimes it's hard to let go of things that don't serve us a purpose anymore. It's hard for us to accept that we basically were conned out of a relationship that we had with someone, even if we were married to them or had kids, whatever the situation was. Sometimes we feel anger and hate towards that person, after we go through the sadness and all those different emotions. It's like you get so angry and wrapped up in your feelings because you start to think, I lost this, I lost that, I went through this, I can never go and get this job back again, I can never go and do this now. So what happens is that when you leave the relationship, not only does the narcissist try to destroy your self-esteem and, also by future faking with you and promising you things, you start to feel betrayed, because you feel like you could have been doing something different, more valuable with your time. And see, what the narcissist tried to do, what all narcissists try to do, because we have to understand that this has been going on for generations before us. It's just now we have the internet and we have people who are on these platforms who are bringing it to many people's to your attention. And now a lot of people are realizing, instead of actually going into the marriage, because back then, you have to understand, a lot of people were family oriented, so people were getting married. These days are very different. We live in a fast-paced world, fast food, fast relationships, the fast life. So now it's becoming even more harder for the narcissist to try to contaminate people like they used to. Because now, most of the time when someone's going through something, they are looking towards the internet as if the internet is the answer to all of their problems. And what most of us, many people do, is they start researching, trying to find answers to the relationship, because it's very dysfunctional and very different from any other relationship. Or you start to realize that there's a pattern, not only with the people you are physically in a relationship with, but you realize that there's a pattern also with maybe friends or family. And you start to realize that a lot of people have these characteristics and these traits. Not everyone's a narcissist, of course, but you realize that there is a big group of people that do. Now, why is it that there's so many narcissists? Why is it? Ask yourselves that question. There's a lot of narcissists because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of deceit. There's, parents. Some people say that, these narcissists are created. And maybe so. Maybe they are created. Maybe they're not. But what I do know is that when you live with hate, jealousy, any negative emotion, in your life, you're opening portals for evil spirits. So even if you're not a narcissist, by you being selfish or greedy, or you're worried about what the next person has, those are characteristics of you, of you not being in tune with yourself. Because if you're in tune with yourself, you're not going to be in a competition with no one but yourself. But see, a lot of these narcissists, they live in this constant competition with everyone, even with their own children. And it's very sick, but there's reasons for that. So before I get too deep into this, I just want to again appreciate everyone who has been following me, who's been liking, who's been commenting, who's been supporting my Skid Row challenge and helping the homelessness. I want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I want you guys to understand that every single thing that comes out of my mouth, every single word, it's not me speaking, it's God speaking. God is using me to speak to you guys, and it's okay, whatever beliefs you have. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I don't debate with people about what's right, what's wrong, because right is right and wrong is wrong. And that's just the world I live in. That's the real world I live in. And after going through narcissist abuse, the very most important thing that you must do is forgive. Not only forgive them for what they've done to you, but forgive yourself. And understand that after this spiritual death, there is resurrection. The narcissist definitely came into your life. Every narcissist that has been in your life has came into your life for a specific purpose, and that's to bring fear onto you. Have you ever felt, like, seriously, a serious question to everyone, have you guys ever felt like there was something inside of you, like there has to be more to life, like there's something out there that's bigger, that's greater? Or have you ever felt that you had the capability of reaching your dreams, but then you were afraid? You were afraid of putting in the work because you knew that in the back of your head, you knew that if you put in the work, you can be anything you want to be. But then when you do get excited about something, or you do have plans or dreams about something, and you discuss it with someone, they might tell you, oh, everyone does that. A lot of people do that. Oh, you're not going to make a lot of money in that. Look, it's not about that. It's about your happiness. So I actually read something earlier about this quote by Mother Teresa, and she was actually Catholic, and she lived her life as a nun. And she had wrote this little quote, and I wanted to read it to you guys because everything she said pointed out exactly what's going on in the world. And this woman knew a lot. The choices that she made, as far as religion, I don't, with that, like I said, I'm spiritual. But also, you have to understand, just like marriage has been something that's been going on, and now everything is changing, this narcissism is growing. When Mother Teresa wrote this, narcissism was going on. When Jesus wrote, what he preached, and his apostles wrote their stories, it was all about narcissism. So here goes the quote by Mother Teresa. It goes, "People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine friends. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have, and it will never be enough. Give your best anyway. If the final analysis, it is between you and God. In the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them. It was never between you and them. That's what really got me on this one. And I said, wow, Mother Teresa was a wise woman. I never really, my grandmother growing up spoke highly about her because she was Catholic. And after reading this, I was like, wow, this has really been going on for a long time. People are often unreasonable, irrational, self-centered, but you have to forgive them anyway. You have to forgive them because if you don't forgive them, you become just like them. And then by you becoming just like them, you're going to reap the exact same things that they're reaping, and you can't judge them for the things that they're doing because God gives us free will and that person can change. But see, with these narcissists, they're in too deep. They have sold their souls for free. Have you heard of celebrities selling their souls and you think, oh wow, he sold his soul, that's why he's famous? No, he did not sell his soul. Well, he did, technically, she did, whatever. They did not sell their soul to be famous. God opens doors for us. And when he opens doors for us, once we know who he really is, not the person that everyone, puts a picture in a statue and they say this is who we're going to worship. I mean, the creator of this universe. Once you know him, once you talk to him, her, you realize that everything that you went through, you ever heard of people say that God knows what's going to happen before you know it? I truly believe that. And let me tell you why I believe that. I believe that because when I was dealing with my narcissist, the way I grew up not having, the best childhood. I do have good memories, but there was a lot of things that could have happened to me, things that started to happen to me, situations that I couldn't control, adults in my life that tried to take advantage of me. Having adults that don't believe that someone's trying to hurt you or abuse you or do something to you. I've been through many things. When I was a baby, well, before I was born, my dad didn't want me. My mom was mentally ill and she was hanging around the wrong people. And the thing about my mom, even though she has like her issues, she is like a kid, literally like a child. I care for her as if she was a child. She thinks like one. And see, at that time, she was still young and I was a baby. And well, when she was pregnant with me, she was hanging around the wrong people. And someone close to her, a female narcissist, became really close to her and was taking advantage of my mom, using her. And when my dad decided he didn't want to, be responsible, that narcissist friend convinced my mom into giving me up whenever, she went into labor. See, my mom came from a good family, as far as financially. My family had still, they're pretty they're financially good. And there was no way that my mom, had to go through any type of financial struggle. There was never going to be a moment where I would be hungry or anything like that. So there was no reason for her to do what she did. Not only that, but my family was like hardcore Catholic. So they don't believe in abortions or anything like that. But this woman tried to steal me from my mom. And when my mom went into labor, my mom didn't know she was going into labor, and she didn't tell anyone. And she was at the hospital. And when she was at that hospital, let me tell you guys what happened, because my grandmother told me this story, and my grandmother's a narcissist as well. And she has a lot to do with the way my mom is. She kind of messed her up. But what happened was, there was this man who went to church with my family, and my family, a lot of people know them in the community because my grandmother, she gives large donations to churches and stuff like that. So people know her. And when they saw my mom at the hospital, the guy goes, "Aren't you so-and-so's daughter? Where's your family at?" Because they know that they would never allow my mother to, give birth. And the guy that worked there, he went through my mom's file and found out that she was gonna give me away to her friend who was there at the hospital or whatever. So this lady came to the hospital and bought baby clothes. And my mom started changing her mind. She's going through all this labor pain, and she's changing her mind. Like, I don't think I want to give my daughter up. Like, something's not right about this transaction. Like, I'm going to give you something, I'm going through all this pain to give you my kid, my first child, So something, my mom was kind of like, no, I don't want to do it. But see, this narcissistic woman told my mom, I already bought baby clothes for her, so I need to take her. Like, I didn't buy all this clothes for nothing. So my mom was kind of like being, she was definitely, being manipulated. And she started thinking, well, she's right. She bought all this baby stuff. I can't change my mind now. So this man ends up calling my grandmother, telling my grandmother the situation. And then the man ends up telling my mom, hey, I called your mom. Your mom said she's on her way to this hospital. And the lady basically started being aggressive. So she's like, telling my mom to hurry up and push so that she can basically hurry up and grab me and leave. Like, she was planning on taking me that same day my mom was giving birth. So instead of taking me, my grandmother showed up, and I guess they had to call the police, and the hospital had an emergency shutdown. When someone's trying to steal a baby, they had an emergency shutdown. They were trying to get this lady, but she, once they called the emergency shutdown over the phone system, where the speakers, I guess this is when the lady started, leaving the hospital because she didn't want to go to jail. But instead of this lady, this nasty narcissist, leaving the hospital and like never showing her face again, she went directly to my grandparents' house. See, my grandmother was at the hospital, but my grandfather was at home watching the, like the other kids or whatever, like my cousins and stuff. And the lady went to the house and demanded my grandfather to pay her back for all the stuff that she's bought for me. So he goes, your daughter told me it was okay. I take her daughter and blah, blah, blah. I bought all this stuff. Like, you guys have to pay me back. And my grandfather was like, lady, the police is looking for you at the hospital. Like, how can you come to the house when the police is looking for you right now? And, because you're trying to take advantage of someone who's not mentally right in their head. My grandmother, took care of my mom. So it was just kind of like, what is going on? So there's been this evil spirit that's been trying to attack me personally since I was a child. And this is why I want to bring you guys this message that sometimes people do stuff to you, and you'll find a lot of times these narcissists will tell you that they don't remember saying certain things to you, and that's because they really don't. And they lie so much. This spirit is in them that they really don't. They know what they're doing, but in a sense, they don't. And once I started to grow up in high school, I hung around the wrong crowd, because I felt indifferent. And after high school, I realized that a lot of these people weren't people that I can grow with, that didn't really want anything out of life. And I was a smart kid. I had scholarships and all kind of stuff. And I remember getting in trouble, and I told myself, I'm never going to talk to this crowd of people anymore. So I went off to college. And while I was in college, this is when I met my narcissist. And I was in a whole nother town, let me tell you. So after being with that narcissist for so many years, and when I finally decided to, because they will never discard you completely. It's up to you. By doing no contact completely, never speaking to them again, because we had been on and off so many times to the point where it was kind of ridiculous. And then when we would break up, I would always want to send that last text message, kind of like, I love you, and if you don't love me, I'm happy for you if you're with someone else, and I just want you to be happy. And you're just thinking about that person so much, right? That's why it's hard to forgive them, because you tried to be good to them even when they were super duper evil to you, And when they hoover you back, they will say the same things to you. Say they're ignoring you during the discard, and you tell them, I had a dream and I thought about you, or, can you just have some human decency? Because sometimes you're like, these people, they're not human. So you can say something like, can you have some human decency? And then the thing is, when they come back and they try to hoover you, they'll tell you, can you have some decency? And you're thinking in the back of your head, like, that's what I told you. So they're mirroring everything. Even when they're hoovering you, they're mirroring you, what you would like to hear, what they know you want to hear, because you've been saying it to them. They just never cared, because their agenda was to instill fear onto you. So after me having to discard this person out of my life, before discarding them, because this is when I knew, this is when I actually knew, you have a lot of moments where God is trying to give you signs and you're just ignoring them. We have free will, by the way. If you guys didn't know, we have free will. We hurt ourselves sometimes. But after the pain, after the rain, there will be sunshine, you guys. So before the breakup, we went to this grocery store and we're buying things to cook dinner. And then I end up seeing a person from high school, and they were like standing right behind us, and I felt weird because they kept looking. So I said hi, and then they just started talking to me. And then my ex, which was a narcissist, sorry, he ended up turning around, and he realized that that was his friend. So then they started talking, and then we all started talking, and we were kind of like, wow, like, I have been with my ex for so many years. How the hell do you guys know each other? And like, I lived in a whole different town, and I don't live in a small town. I'm a city girl. So imagine living in this big city, and somehow these people know each other. These are people that I went to high school with that I didn't ever want to see again. Never want. I literally moved because I hated the whole ad. I hated the school. I hated the city. I hated everything about it. And somehow this narcissist was friends with this person. Not only were they friends with that person, but they knew all of those people that I actually left that city for, because I didn't want to be there. And he knew all these people. They weren't best friends, but they knew each other. And they knew each other, you know why? These people that I grew up with that I didn't want to be around, they lived on my street. They lived on my street, okay? I mean, the same street that I live in, they lived in that street. So the narcissist as well told me that he lived in his street when they were children, and that's how he knew them, when they were children, and that they went to the same elementary school. What coincidence is it that during his childhood, these kids, these people, they lived in his street, and then they moved to my town when I was a teenager. They moved to my town. So he knew them growing up, and he knew them when they became teenagers because they used to go out there and visit. But for the most part, I knew them when I was a teenager. And I said to myself, this was at the end when I finally left the relationship. After I left the relationship, you get to those points where, you're like sad, angry, you're feeling all type of emotions. You're waiting for a Hoover, but you don't know why you're waiting, because you're never going back to them, but you're just like, damn, how the fuck did I end up here? I thought about that for a while, and then I started thinking about other things that happened in my life since childhood, how there were situations where things could have been worse, but I was a child. And I felt like God was protecting me this whole time for something bigger. And I always felt in my heart like there was something bigger, like I was meant to do something. And I feel like I'm doing it right now because I feel the Spirit of God working through me, talking, And after thinking about it for a while, I said, wow, God really knows what's going to happen before it happens. Not only does he know, but it's a test. These people aren't real. These people aren't real. It's a spiritual attack, because in the Bible it says that Jesus said that his mother, he didn't have a problem with his mom, with Mary. He didn't have a problem with Joseph, his dad. He didn't have a problem with it, no one. But he said that his mother and his father and his brothers aren't his family. He said that the people that are in the truth with him are his family, which were his 12 apostles. He said, you guys are my family. Meaning your family, you might have a okay relationship. It might not be the worst. It might not be as bad as the narcissistic relationship you went through. But see, if someone is against you or someone is putting negative energy, they are selling their souls Most people that sell their souls, like I said earlier about these celebrities even selling their souls, it's not that they're selling their souls for fame. It's that God got them to where they're at. God got them there. God helped them get there. But see, when they got there, they got deceived with all these evil women, all these evil men, all these succubus. They got into doing all these things that don't come from God. And this is how they sold their soul, because instead of them telling you the truth, like the truth I'm telling you right now, instead of them doing that and telling you that these narcissists are actually here to put fear onto you so that you don't achieve your highest conscience, a higher self of consciousness, if they're not trying to help you and let you know that you can be anything you want to be. That's why when you're a child, your imagination is so, is so big. That's why you don't see color. You don't see racism. You don't see certain things when you're a child. So I wanted to read you guys a verse, from the Bible, how I like to give you guys examples, but because this has been going around for a long time, and it's very important to forgive, because this situation that's what's helping you find yourself. This is supposed to help you. This is not a life sentence, you guys. This is supposed to help you. It's not about money. You can have all the riches in the world, but what's the point if you don't have love? What's the point if you can't help others with what you have? What's the point if you can't call your house a home? So I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 15, verse 13 or 12. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? Verse 13. But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. So we shall be rooted up, just because they haven't seen our flowers sprout, we will, even if it's in a concrete floor and we're growing between some cracks. Let them be alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. So all these haters, all these people who are out here deceiving, they're all going to get their karma. They will all reap what they sow. And I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 18, verse 1. At the same time came to the disciples unto Jesus, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted, and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as a little child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. So, again, you have to forgive. You have to go back to being like a child. You have to look at these people like bullies. They're bullies, but you have to look at yourself like an innocent child that doesn't see height, doesn't see weight, doesn't see color, doesn't see who's right, who's wrong, who has right information, who has the right Bible, who has the right, who's better at preaching, who's better at giving information about narcissism. All this stuff, comes from hate. Even the people that will sit here and not like my video and dislike it, it all comes from hate. This is what we have to understand. And it doesn't come from God. And we do have to be as children, you know. So I'm going to go to chapter 24, Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. For nations shall rise against nations, and kingdoms against kingdoms. So this is what's going on right now, you know, nation against nation. You know, all this Trump stuff that's going on, turning people against others, kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are beginnings of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to the afflicted and shall kill you. So this is what happens. They kill you. These people, narcissistic people that put people against each other, nations against each other, they kill you. You might not die a physical death, but it's a spiritual death. And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And this is another one, you know, a lot of false prophets out here, a lot of people doing stuff for money, and deceiving people along the way. A lot of false prophets don't even have to, you know, be church related. It's people who preach false things, that has nothing to do with coming together as a human race. There's only one human race, and it's here with us. You know, these narcissists, yes, they're a little bit out of this world. But here goes verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for the witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So the end, you know, we're coming into 2020, you guys. 2020 is, you know, have you ever heard when you were a young kid and, you know, people always talked about having 2020 vision? That's when you see things perfect, right? We're coming into the year 2020. I don't believe that we're starting to preach, you know, it's a lot of us out here, you know, wanting to put our stories out, you know, and if you want to put your story out, don't be afraid. Just do it. I never planned on making this YouTube channel and making videos, but God told me to do this. God spoke into me to do it. And look how we've been doing. We've been growing. A lot of us have been able to talk to each other. I've been able to talk to you guys, communicate with you guys. You guys have been supporting my Skid Row Homeless Challenge for all the people who are out here homeless, who have suffered from narcissistic abuse, you know. And we are out here being the good that the world needs. And trust me, yes, you might go through your through a spiritual death, but you will resurrect, and when you do, you will see the world in a whole different way. But you have to forgive yourself, forgive your past. You have to forgive yourself to the point where everything that you went through with the narcissist becomes a distant memory. It becomes a distant memory along with the things that happened in your past that you don't really remember, or things that you do remember, but you don't really think about them. But if you know, someone brings something up, you can say, hey, I've been through that, you know, or hey, you know, it's like, you know, it's like growing up without a dad or growing up without a mom or something. You don't think about those things every single day. You don't say, oh my God, I don't have a mom. Oh my God, I don't have a dad. You don't think about those things. You have to put it in your past. It cannot be a life sentence. And in order for you to do that, you have to forgive and not wish bad on your enemy, because they still, everyone is a mirror. So even if they do bad onto you, Sometimes they don't even know what they're doing or saying because it's an evil spirit in them. So it's your job to know that that person is trying to lower your self-esteem, and they're trying to bring fear onto your life. If people mess with you for no reason, this is what they want. They want to instill anger, fear, negative emotion, because any negative emotion is going to stop you from your greater goal. And that is, like I said, a higher self of consciousness. And when you have a higher state of consciousness, you're able to communicate with the spiritual world. You're able to communicate with nature. You're able to communicate in through your mind. Sometimes you might think about someone and hey, here they go calling you. That's because you're very powerful. You feel it in you too. You know that there's something in you that's very powerful. You just can't really explain what it is. Sometimes you might even look at the stars and look at the sun, and you start stargazing and you're looking at the sky wondering, there has to be something more. So I'm going to go to Luke chapter 15, verse 4. What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, doth not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after that which is lost until he find it? And when he hath found it, he layeth on his shoulders, rejoicing. So you're like a lost sheep. You're like a lost sheep. You have went out into the wilderness. There's wolves. There's all kind of animals. There's things coming at you. But your shepherd is looking for you, which is God. And he keeps calling you. You just keep ignoring the red flags. You keep wishing for a Hoover from a wolf, instead of going to your shepherd and going back to be with the rest of the sheep, the rest of the people that are like you. So I just wanted to make this video real quick. I know I kind of rambled on for a minute, but this is just something I literally was on my mind, and I felt like God told me to come talk to you guys real quick just to say hi. I hope you guys are doing okay. And just to say that you have to forgive. Forgiveness plays a really big key in manifesting the things that you want for yourself. And one day, all this will be a distant memory, and you will talk about it, and you'll talk about it and inspire someone else for them not to break, because you're unbreakable. So if you guys like this message, make sure you guys like this video, hit a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, you guys, for more videos. If you guys have any comments, leave them down below. If you guys have any questions, if you guys want to talk about anything in specific, let me know. I think another thing I do want to do is start going live with you guys, maybe talking. I will do that in the future. I do want to get up to 1,000 subscribers, and start going live. That way I can be able to reach a lot of you guys all at once. So leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to you guys on the next video.